This is Just the News, a news bulletin that we put out every day as a social service, and we don't include any shouting, any drama, or any opinions in this news bulletin. I'm Faye D'Souza. Thank you for joining us. An update on the farmer protest. Another round of talks have taken place between the Karnal district officials and the protesting farmers over the lathi charge on Wednesday. The protesters said that they will continue their sit-in outside the Karnal mini secretariat as of now. Now remember, farmers in Karnal have gathered in very large numbers outside the mini secretariat, which they have Gherao, and the administration is trying to talk them into calling off their protest, but they've had no luck so far. Haryana Home Minister Anil Vij told reporters today that everyone has a right to protest and raise their voice in a democracy. Whatever the farmers' demands are, our officers are talking to them and talks are going on. Now, Minister Vij also said that the government is ready for an investigation into the police lathi charge, but he said and he warned that the farm leaders could also face action if they are found to be at fault. Anil Vij offered an impartial inquiry into the entire Karnal episode as farmers continued their sit-out outside the district headquarters for the third day. Now, farmers currently are demanding action against the subdivisional magistrate Ayush Sinha, remember in that video, who was heard giving instructions to the police to break the farmers' heads. Farmers and their representatives have made it clear that the protest outside the mini secretariat will continue until their demands are met. The Karnal District Police, since the 6th of September afternoon, citing law and order situation, have actually suspended the internet in that neighborhood. Haryana Agriculture Minister JP Dalal has made a statement. He said, when Punjab increased the rate for sugarcane, farmers met the Punjab CM and presented him with sweets. Now they should meet our Chief Minister with sweets. People are saying that people who are trying to play politics in the name of farmers should at least once present sweets to Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar for increasing the rate of sugarcane, which is now the highest in the country. Meanwhile, the State Home Department has released an order saying that mobile internet services in the Karnal district will remain suspended until midnight on the 9th of September. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired the 13th BRICS summit today via video conference. It was attended by the heads of state of all the BRICS countries, that's Brazil, Russia, China and South Africa, other than India. The summit, of course, comes in the wake of the Taliban's takeover of Afghanistan, which is sensitive for our neighborhood. In his opening remarks, the Prime Minister applauded BRICS for its achievements over the last 1.5 years, especially its collaboration and help for each other during COVID. Meanwhile, President Putin pointed out that the withdrawal of US forces and its allies from Afghanistan has created a crisis. He was quoted by ANI saying, and I quote, "It is still unclear how this will affect global and regional security. It is for good reason that our countries have paid special attention to the issue," end quote. At least 5 media houses, offices were allegedly attacked by miscreants from an unauthorized rally led by the BJP in Tripura. According to the police statement, the rally was organized by BJP State Vice President Rajiv Bhattacharjee and 2 secretaries along with him. Journalist bodies have now given the police 12 hours to arrest the culprits and have warned that they will protest if arrests are not made. An update now from COVID, especially in India. India reported 43,263 cases and 338 deaths in the last 24 hours. That number has gone up. Kerala reported 26,200 COVID cases and 114 deaths in the last 24 hours. The state positivity rate is now at 16.6%. It was closer to 20% a couple of weeks ago, so that's come down, which is good. Mumbai is showing some numbers again. Mumbai on Wednesday recorded 530 new coronavirus cases. This is the highest since mid-July. The city of Mumbai dropped below 500 cases per day in mid-July, and we haven't crossed that number until now. On the 15th of July, we had logged 545 cases. After that, the daily count remained below 500. It came down to 190 by mid-August. It's crossed 500 again. Since the beginning of September, the city has been reporting more than 400 cases every day. On the last 2 days, it's been 379 and 353. It's now 500. It's also after a very long gap, there's been a new containment zone declared in Mumbai. This is our southward western suburbs. The city was free of containment zones from mid-August onwards. Now we have a containment zone again. Remember, the government has been cautious and announced rules for the entire Ganesh Puja festival that starts tomorrow, which is a very big deal in Mumbai. There are plenty of restrictions, and there is some concern that large gatherings might lead to a spike of these cases. The central government, in the meantime, announced that 58% of India's adult population has received at least one dose of the COVID vaccine. 18% has gotten both doses. The total number of doses administered in the country so far is 72 crore. Meanwhile, the Indian Council for Medical Research Director General Dr. Balram Bhargava has said the COVID vaccine is 96.6% effective in preventing death after the first dose, while it prevents death by 97.5% after the second dose. And on to an update from the world of business. Ford Motor Company will stop making cars in India and wrap up its business and shut down 2 of its factories, according to a report from Reuters, making it the latest auto manufacturer to leave the country. In an official statement, Ford has said that it has accumulated operating losses of more than $2 billion from its business in India over the last 10 years. The US automaker will continue to sell some of its cars via import, but they won't be made in India. It will also provide support to dealers for service of existing customers. And I know that's going to be a concern for anyone who's bought a Ford vehicle. The unfortunate part is that this decision is going to hurt 4,000 Ford employees who are now going to lose their jobs. Ford is the third automaker to pull out of the country. Remember, Harley-Davidson decided to pull out of the country along with General Motors. In other news, the Finance Ministry has said the economic recovery was impacted by the second wave, but will see a faster revival even if a third wave hits the country. It attributed this success to a rapid surge in the vaccination drive. In its monthly review for August, the Finance Ministry has said, and I quote, "Rapidly increasing vaccination coverage, richer experience with pandemic management provide confidence that the recovery can continue even in the event of a third wave." It added that India is poised for an even faster recovery in the next 3 quarters of 2021-22 due to measures taken by the central government and the RBI. News coming in from across the world right now. The WHO has extended its call for a moratorium on the booster dose or third dose for developed countries until the end of the year. Earlier, that call was until September end. So basically, many countries in the developed world have now vaccinated large portions of their population, have now begun handing out a third dose or a booster dose to increase immunity. The WHO believes that these resources, or that are currently being used for the third dose, should in fact be sent to countries where they haven't received even one dose yet. Now, large portions of Africa, for example, have not received a single dose yet, and that's what the WHO is talking about. Now, the WHO director made a very strong statement. He said, and I quote, "I will not stay silent when companies and countries that control the global supply of vaccine think the world's poor will be satisfied with leftovers. Because manufacturers have been legally obliged to fulfill bilateral deals with rich countries who are willing to pay top dollar, low-income countries have been deprived of the tools to protect their people." He went on to say rich countries with large supplies of coronavirus vaccines should refrain from offering booster doses to the end of the year to make doses available for poorer countries, end quote. In Pakistan, Pakistan's Federal Directorate of Education has released a dress code for male and female teachers in all educational institutions in Islamabad. Jeans and tights have been banned during duty hours, and the principals have been asked to ensure that their teaching and their non-teaching staff maintain personal hygiene. According to the directive, the professional attire for teachers will create a positive learning atmosphere for students. People on the internet have condemned these actions, comparing it to the Taliban's diktats. An update on Afghanistan. The BBC has reported that over 200 people, including American nationals, have flown out of Kabul for the first time since this operation since the US left Afghanistan. In a press conference held at the airport, Qatari special envoy described Kabul International Airport as operational and said it was a historic day for Afghanistan. The flights are the first to leave since the rushed US exit, and evacuations last month. Hundreds of Afghan citizens who had helped the US military, had worked with the US military, were unable to get out of the country via the US airlifts. Former Afghan President Ashraf Ghani has apologized to the people of his country for fleeing the country and taking refuge in the UAE. In a statement on Twitter, he said, and I quote, "Leaving Kabul was the most difficult decision of my life, and that he was sorry he could not make it end differently." He went on to say, "I left at the urging of palace security, who advised me to saying staying would risk setting off street fighting that the city had suffered during the civil war back in the 1990s, and that he left to save Kabul and her 6 million citizens." Mr. Ghani abruptly left Afghanistan as Taliban militants advanced into the capital Kabul on the 15th of August. He was largely criticized for abandoning his people. An update from the world of sports right now, starting with men's cricket. The BCCI has announced a 15-member team for India for the squad of the T20 World Cup 2021. This will take place in Oman and the UAE. Virat Kohli will be captain in the major ICC tournament for the third time. Rohit Sharma will be vice captain. Former Indian captain MS Dhoni has been named mentor for the team. Also, the India-England 5th Test match in Manchester has been put under a bit of a cloud and a question mark after Team India's support staff tested positive for COVID. The final game of the series that India currently leads 2-1 is scheduled to start on Friday. But remember, coaches Ravi Shastri, Bharat Arun, R. Sridhar are all in quarantine right now in London, and they've missed the 4th test at the Oval. None of the players have been found positive yet. Further, the spread of the virus within the team cannot be ruled out, though, since most of the players had spent time in close contact with the support staff in the last test. Djokovic has defeated his Italian counterpart Matteo Berrettini in the US Open quarterfinal to reach his 42nd Grand Slam semi-final. Now, Djokovic now is just 2 wins away from his 21st major and a calendar year Grand Slam. He has won 80 matches at the US Open so far. Also, Cricket Australia has issued a statement about the upcoming test match that they're supposed to host with the Afghanistan men's team at Hobart. Australian Cricket Board has suggested that if the Taliban doesn't allow women to play cricket, they will not host the men either. The statement has said, and I quote, "If recent media reports on women's cricket suggest that it will not be supported in Afghanistan are substantiated, Cricket Australia will have no alternative but not to host Afghanistan for the proposed test match that is due to be played in Hobart." Now, this comes after the deputy head of the Taliban Cultural Commission had, in an interview, said Afghan women will be banned from playing sports. He specifically referred to cricket. He said it's not necessary for women to play cricket because they will face a situation where their face and body is not covered, and Islam does not permit women to be seen like that. A piece of positive news, though, before we leave you for the day. In Iceland, the world's largest plant that sucks carbon dioxide out of the air and turns it into rocks underground has become operational. The plant has been named Orca, which means energy. It captures about 4,000 tons of carbon dioxide per year. That's the equivalent of annual emissions from about 870 cars. Now, it's a very expensive operation to run, but it is a start towards the entire movement of climate change and battling global warming, which we're seeing already with massive floods and unusual rain and extreme weather conditions across the world. Of course, this is a prototype now that many countries across the world are going to be encouraged to set up so that we can reduce the amount of carbon emissions that we're leaving in the air. That brings us to the end of the news for today. Thank you so much for watching. Leave us a comment and a word of encouragement. That always helps. We hope you have a good weekend. Happy Ganesh Puja for those of you who are celebrating it tomorrow. Stay safe and stay home as far as possible. Good night.